Nostalgia is a sentimentality for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. The word nostalgia is learned formation of a Greek compound, consisting of nu omicron sigma tau omicron sigma, meaning homecoming, a Homeric word, and lambda gamma omicron sigma, meaning pain, ache, and was coined by a 17th-century medical student to describe the anxieties displayed by Swiss mercenaries fighting away from home. Described as a medical condition, a form of melancholy, in the early modern period, it became an important trope in Romanticism. Nostalgia can refer to a general interest in the past, its personalities and events, especially the good old days, from earlier in one's life. The scientific literature on nostalgia usually refers to nostalgia regarding the personal life and has mainly studied the effects of nostalgia induced during the studies. Smell and touch are strong evokers of nostalgia due to the processing of these stimuli first passing through the amygdala, the emotional seat of the brain. These recollections of one's past are usually important events, people one cares about, and places where one has spent time. Music and weather can also be strong triggers of nostalgia. Nostalgic preferences, the belief that the past was better than is the present, has been linked to biases in memory functions. Nostalgia's definition has changed greatly over time, consistent with its Greek word roots meaning homecoming and pain. Nostalgia was for centuries considered a potentially debilitating and sometimes fatal medical condition expressing extreme homesickness. The modern view is that nostalgia is an independent, and even positive, emotion that many people experience often. Occasional nostalgia has been found to have many functions, such as to improve mood, increase social connectedness, enhance positive self-regard, and provide existential meaning. Many nostalgic reflections serve more than one function and overall seem to benefit those who experience them. Such benefits may lead to a chronic disposition, a personality trait, or of nostalgia-proneness. Improve mood. Although nostalgia is often triggered by negative feelings, it results in increasing one's mood and heightening positive emotions, which can stem from feelings of warmth or coping resulting from nostalgic reflections. One way to improve mood is to effectively cope with problems that hinder one's happiness. Bacho found that nostalgia proneness positively related to successful methods of coping throughout all stages, planning and implementing strategies, and reframing the issue positively. These studies led to the conclusion that the coping strategies that are likely among nostalgia-prone people often lead to benefits during stressful times. Nostalgia can be connected to more focus on coping strategies and implementing them, thus increasing support in challenging times. Increased social connectedness. Nostalgia also revolves typically around memories with close others, and thus it increases one's sense of social support and connections. Nostalgia is also triggered specifically by feelings of loneliness, but counteracts such feelings with reflections of close relationships. According to Joe et al., lonely people often have lesser perceptions of social support. Loneliness, however, leads to nostalgia, which actually increases perceptions of social support. Thus, Joe and colleagues concluded that nostalgia serves a restorative function for individuals regarding the social connectedness. Enhance positive self-regard. Nostalgia serves as a coping mechanism and helps people to feel better about themselves. Vess et al. Found that the subjects who thought of nostalgic memories showed a greater accessibility of positive characteristics than those who thought of exciting future experiences. Additionally, in a second study conducted, some participants were exposed to nostalgic engagement and reflection while the other group was not. The researchers looked again at self-attributes and found that the participants who were not exposed to nostalgic experiences reflected a pattern of selfish and self-centered attributes. Versailles al., however, found that this effect had weakened and become less powerful among the participants who engaged in nostalgic reflection, provide existential meaning. Nostalgia helps increase one's self-esteem and meaning in life by buffering threats to well-being and also by initiating a desire to deal with problems or stress. Rutledge and colleagues found that nostalgia correlates positively with one's sense of meaning in life. The second study revealed that nostalgia increases one's perceived meaning in life, which was thought to be mediated by a sense of social support or connectedness. Thirdly, the researchers found that threatened meaning can even act as a trigger for nostalgia, thus increasing one's nostalgic reflections. By triggering nostalgia, though one's defensiveness to such threat is minimized as found in the fourth study. The final two studies found that nostalgia is able to not only create meaning, but buffer threats to meaning by breaking the connection between a lack of meaning and one's well-being. Follow-up studies also completed by Rutledge in 2012 not only found meaning as a function of nostalgia, but also concluded that nostalgic people have greater perceived meaning, search for meaning less, and can better buffer existential threat, promote psychological growth. Nostalgia makes people more willing to engage in growth-oriented behaviors and encourages them to view themselves as growth-oriented people. Baldwin and Landau found that nostalgia leads people to rate themselves higher on items like, "I am the kind of person who embraces unfamiliar people, events, and places." Nostalgia also increased interest in growth-related behavior such as, "I would like to explore some place that I have never been before." Quote, in the first study, these effects were statistically mediated by nostalgia-induced positive effect, the extent to which nostalgia made participants feel good. In the second study, nostalgia led to the same growth outcomes, but the effects were statistically mediated by nostalgia-induced self-esteem. As a deception, one recent study critiques the idea of nostalgia, which in some forms can become a defense mechanism by which people avoid the historical facts. This study looked at the different portrayals of apartheid in South Africa and argued that nostalgia appears as two ways: restorative nostalgia, a wish to return to that past, and reflective nostalgia, which is more critically aware. As a comfort, reliving past memories may provide comfort and contribute to mental health. One notable recent medical study has looked at the physiological effects thinking about past good memories can have. They found that thinking about the past fondly actually increased perceptions of physical warmth. Other aspects. As a medical condition, the term was coined in 1688 by Johannes Hofer in his Basel dissertation. Hofer introduced nostalgia et mal du pays, homesickness, for the condition also known as mal du Suisse, Swiss illness, or Schweißerheimweh, Swiss homesickness, because of its frequent occurrence in Swiss mercenaries who in the plains of lowlands of France or Italy were pining for the native mountain landscapes. Symptoms were also thought to include fainting, high fever, indigestion, stomach pain, and death. Military physicians hypothesized that the malady was due to damage to the victim's brain cells and eardrums by the constant clanging of cowbells in the pastures of Switzerland. English homesickness is a lone translation of nostalgia. Sir Joseph Banks used the word in his journal during the first voyage of Captain Cook. On the 3rd of September 1770 he stated that the sailors were now pretty far gone with the longing for home, which the physicians have gone so far as to esteem a disease under the name of nostalgia. But his journal was not published in his lifetime. The Endeavour Journal of Joseph Banks 1768–1771, Public Library of New South Wales, Angus and Robertson, Sydney, 1962, Volume E.P. 145. Cases resulting in death were known, and soldiers were sometimes successfully treated by being discharged and sent home. Receiving a diagnosis was, however, generally regarded as an insult. In 1787, Robert Hamilton described a case of a soldier suffering from nostalgia who received sensitive and successful treatment. In the 18th century, scientists were looking for a locus of nostalgia, a nostalgic bone. By the 1850s, nostalgia was losing its status as a particular disease and coming to be seen rather as a symptom, a stage of a pathological process. It was considered as a form of melancholia and a predisposing condition among suicides. Nostalgia was, however, still diagnosed among soldiers as late as the American Civil War. By the 1870s, interest in nostalgia as a medical category had almost completely vanished. Nostalgia was still being recognized in both the First and Second World Wars, especially by the American armed forces. Great lengths were taken to study and understand the condition to stem the tide of troops leaving the front in droves. As a description, nostalgia is triggered by something reminding an individual of an event or item from the past. The resulting emotion can vary from happiness to sorrow. The term of feeling nostalgic is more commonly used to describe pleasurable emotions associated with or a longing to go back to a particular period of time, although the former may also be true. Romanticism. Swiss nostalgia was linked to the singing of Ryan, which were forbidden to Swiss mercenaries because they led to nostalgia to the point of desertion, illness or death. The 1767 Dictionnaire de musique by Jean-Jacques Rousseau claims that Swiss mercenaries were threatened with severe punishment to prevent them from singing the Swiss songs. It became somewhat of a topos in Romantic literature, and figures in the poem Der Schweizer by Arkham van Arnhem and in Clemens Brentano's Des Nab and Wanderhorn, as well as in the opera Le Chalet by Adolphe Charles Adam, which was performed for Queen Victoria under the title The Swiss Cottage. The romantic connection of nostalgia, the Rhine and the Swiss Alps was a significant factor in the enthusiasm for Switzerland. The development of early tourism in Switzerland and alpinism that took hold of the European cultural elite in the 19th century. German Romanticism coined an opposite to Heimweh, Fernweh, farsickness, longing to be far away, like Wanderlust, expressing the romantic desire to travel and explore. Music, hearing an old song can bring back memories for a person. In order to do this, the song must have been heard at one time, and then not heard again for a long time. If it is heard throughout life, it would lose its association with any specific period or experience. Listening to the song again would dilute the memory.